All right, we got a bunch of people that I don't know. Thank you for joining. We're going to talk tonight about just things that we're working on with our reselling career, and we can start with Jack. Jack, what specifically are you working on right now?
I've been focusing on listing a lot of inventory that had been backed up the last week or so, just getting through a lot of kind of books, stuff that I've been putting off working on, kind of getting rid of inventory that's really not worth listing so much, and trying to clean out stuff that is actually worth listing and getting it listed, and kind of getting rid of the stuff that isn't actually worth listing, since
How do you
I
determine
took a
if it's
break
not
from it.
worth listing?
Yeah. So for me, the main thing I do is kind of when I first got started, I'd pick up stuff that was was took a little bit more time to process. Like for instance, for electronics, you have to test them before you can sell them. With board games, you have to count the pieces before you can send it in, because on Amazon it has to be 100% complete. So for me, for criteria is I'm looking at how long it's going to take me to actually do it. Usually that ends up being the item has to be at minimum $50 to be worth it. If it's really hard to count the pieces, like really hard to count board games, sometimes I'll just get rid of it anyway, or maybe list it on eBay as not completely complete. So that's kind of what I'm going through, looking at old inventory, making sure it's actually worth and getting rid of it is not actually worth keeping, because I'd rather have kind of the space and clarity of it than to deal with something that's really not worth the time to actually process.
So in this morning call, someone had mentioned that they are starting to time how long different categories take the list. For example, a VCR, you wouldn't sell it necessarily, even if you got it for free, for $30, $40, because of the time required to test it, the time required to package it, that kind of stuff. So even items that are free or a dollar, you may pass on if it doesn't meet the time requirement. Is that how you look at it?
Absolutely, yes. I look at the amount of time it takes to process something all the time with it. Like some games I know are fast to do. Monopoly games, since I kind of have a good setup with that, I can do in about 10 to 15 minutes, counting all the pieces, making sure it's there. And many of those collectible old Monopoly games are like $50 to $100. So you're looking at kind of like a good profit per hour by counting pieces on those games. Like it's worth it to do that. But then you have stuff like VCR that might be like, some VCRs are great. Some are like $200, $300 on Amazon, but it is a pain to test them. It probably takes like 30 minutes or more to test them, get the remotes if you need them, make sure they're working properly, package them up, all that. And then VCRs have a very high return rate as well. So that's
Right.
like, for instance, for me, I have stopped buying most VCRs unless it's like just an insane combo unit. And I don't really buy much anymore that takes much time to prep. Like when you kind of like are maxing out your time, you kind of have to look at the amount of time it takes to list it. So for me, I'll pick up like a 10 or $12 book, because it takes me about 1 minute to list a book or so, or a minute and a half to list a book. It's super fast. But for other stuff, it'll be much higher. For video games too, it takes me about 5 minutes to test, clean, um, uh, for video games. So many times I'm looking at like $20 minimum on those games. So that's kind of how I look at it, is like I do look at the amount of time it takes to list each item, because like you can sell for like a decent amount, but it might take you an hour to prepare it.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that's super important to sort of get a feel for the time, and especially the shipping part. Shipping a VCR is very easy to screw that up and have it get damaged, and then you're liable for the initial shipping and the cost. Let's
Yeah.
go with
Also,
VFO
mhm.
e-commerce. What's going on? I don't know you. I want to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, new to the group. My name's Levitt from Orlando. Been reselling since I was 14 years old. I'm 26.
Nice.
Um, just started taking it seriously as a business the past 2 years. Went full time this month. Um, I'm a scenic artist by trade. kind of been moving my business in a direction where I can do that full time. I don't like my day job. I want the flexibility and of being my own boss. So that's kind of why I'm getting more active on Instagram and YouTube and in these groups.
Are you doing FBA, eBay, everything? Where do you sell?
I'm doing FBA, eBay. I took your advice on the three on narrowing down to a couple categories. So the categories I'm mostly in our collectibles, mainly pops. I just have a lot of inside information about pops. I've been collecting them for a while, so that's something I do. I do used electronics. That's something I've been selling pretty successfully on eBay for a while. And recently got into books. That's my foray into FBA. I've been doing that a month and a half. I did Jim Pickens' course. I'm pretty successful. It just became profitable, I think, a couple weeks ago.
Amazing. So do you want to share something that you're working on specifically in your business right now?
Right now, kind of like Jack said, I'm getting rid of a lot of stuff, actually. A lot of stuff that's been sitting around for a while, taking up space. I got out of the storage unit, and now I have a dedicated room where I live for this stuff, just kind of to reduce costs. And I had it to the point where I was having to run to my storage unit to pick up orders and ship them out. It was becoming a huge pain. So now that I'm doing FBA, I sent a lot of stuff out to Amazon that I had that were listed on eBay. So that's been really helpful, getting a lot of that stuff out of here, making space. I'm trying to focus on selling items that are over $35 on eBay. Anything below that's kind of been a waste of time for me. So getting rid of stuff that's below those metrics on eBay, and then focusing a lot more on Amazon because that's more scalable.
I'm sorry, do you want to talk a little bit about how your day goes? Because I assume you're taking reselling as a career.
Yes. So I typically start at 5 a.m. I have a morning ritual that I've been doing. Which first thing I do is usually I make a cup of coffee. Then I sit down and do kind of 10 minutes of meditation or reflection to get my mind right. I typically do that walking. I walk around my neighborhood. I have a neighborhood gym. So I'll walk to the neighborhood gym, go to the neighborhood gym in the morning. I do about an hour, then when I get home, do my morning hygiene, maybe eat something, and then I'll sit down. I've got it to the point where that I have to pay that price in order to start working on my business, because it's really easy for me to put all that health stuff on the back burner and then just dive right into work and then not kind of pay attention to any of it. So that's what I do in the mornings. If it's a sourcing day, if I have the capital to source, if I haven't blown through my budget, I give myself $100 a day. If I haven't blown through that, or if for example, this week I haven't really been sourcing because I have a huge book sale in my area this weekend. So I've been preparing for that and kind of saving my capital for that. Does that answer your question, Chris? I kind of was all over the place there.
No, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Because I was just making a video talking about the people I know that do this for a living are very different than people who do it just like for fun. Like if you have you have a schedule where you go to this is a sourcing day, I do this, or you're planning ahead for a buy. That's really important, really key. Because especially a lot of people who flip Nike, they may only source 4 times a year during friends and family. So they're saving all their money for those specific times. Or book sales is a great example. Jack just posted on his Instagram results from a book sale. This is a really good way to, capital management is huge because, especially if you're working with a limited amount of capital, you have to make it go as far as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I am buying a lot of textbooks from other sellers, spending a lot on that. And a lot of that won't be cashed out till August. So cash flow is a big concern with that. And one more thing is that you mentioned Jim Pickens' course. That's a really good book selling course, and one of the first ones I listened to when I was getting involved in it. It's a little bit dated now, but it's still a really good course. If you were interested in learning about selling books on Amazon, it's still really good.
Yeah.
After taking a few online courses, I'll never go back to anytime I want to go into a new niche. That's what I'm going to do from now on, because it's such a waste of my time to go through 100 YouTube videos versus paying $100 for a course.
For sure.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's true. You can just quickly get all the information for a specific niche and get straight into it. Like Tino has a $60 or I think a $60 course on shoes, and it's mind blowing. It's every single brand that makes money, how to clean them. And then I have a report of who buys my courses and how people do it. Unfortunately, most people do not get past the first pod of any course. So you got to make sure if you're going to buy the course, might as well do the course. It's kind of crazy how that is the case, but if you invest in a certain niche, you don't need that many to make a great living. In fact, I preach you should learn 3, but mainly that's because people don't know what to start with. You really only need 1. So that's just something to keep in mind. You don't have to go too deep in any specific category.
Jack, I had a question for Jack, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Jack, you're in the books. You've been in the books for a while. I'm just curious. I have right now, like, my average sell-through rate's about 10%, and I have an active inventory of about 400. And my goal is to be able to make $200 a day in sales. Like, what should my inventory level realistically? What should I aim towards building it up to be able to reach this goal? In your experience.
Sure. Yeah. I think probably around 2,000 books is a pretty like good number. I got to that probably about 6 months after doing it a lot in books. And then I kind of got to the point where I was selling fast enough that it was hard to replenish more than that. I think I have a little bit higher sell-through rate than most people do with books because I'm kind of aggressive with my repricing. Also, August and January, you will sell massively more books than other times. Like your sell-through in August, like I might sell through 60% of my entire inventory of books in August. So it just like you'll see massive amounts. Right now is one of the slowest time for books. It'll pick up a little bit in June with people going back to places. But generally, I think what you want to aim for is like something around 15% to 20% sell through per month outside of August and January. And then really try to move as much of your books as possible during August and January. After August and January, I look at what books have not sold to see September as well, but to see what books have not sold, because usually there's some kind of pricing issue with it, because I actually expect to move almost all of my textbooks and inventory after those 2 months. It's kind of like a good time to refresh through all of your stuff. It's kind of like in December as well, where you want to sell all of your toys during December, all your video games during December, because so many people are buying, and your sell-through will be so much higher during those months. So like outside of those months, so 15% to 20% or so in those months, you want to try to move as much of your inventory as possible.
Okay, thanks, man.
I'm actually looking at adding books. I'm currently doing electronics, as you know, but looking at adding books to that at the moment. So I'll check out that course. It was Jim Pickens, INS.
Yeah, Jim Pickens, Book Selling 101.
Cool. Thank you.
Tell him Levitt sent you.
Will do. Cheers.
John, I was going to call on you next. There's something specific you're working on tonight. I know we were talking about.
Yeah, sure. I'm actually at home today. My son's had some concussion, unfortunately, so at home with him. But anyway, it gives me a chance to work on the reselling. For me, it's so I'm getting to the end or nearing the end of selling the first lot of electronics phones that I purchased. So I took the opportunity this morning to redesign my workspace. So when I first started, I kind of popped some shelves in and a large desk. So having worked through 300 odd phones, I've got a much better feel now for what works and what doesn't. So I've redesigned the shelving to make sure that I've covered off each step in that process. So everything from storage of the phones when they first come in through to, I get a lot of stock of empty boxes that I reuse if I've got damaged boxes, right through to a charging station, etc. So I've redesigned that so the flow works better. And the other thing I'm doing is just a few process changes as well. So a couple of days ago, I purchased a barcode scanner. So I should get that today or tomorrow. So I think that'll make a massive impact for me, because I've just been watching some both YouTube channels, but also I went to a friend's, has a big warehouse with furniture components that he sells. And I watched and just observed how he uses his barcode scanner for a variety of things. And I think for my space, where I'm talking high detail in terms of descriptions through to higher volumes, I think it'll make a real impact for me.
I was going to ask you, on the person that is helping you, do they help you in your space, or do you give them the phones offsite?
Now, off-site, they actually do it from their home.
Wow.
Yeah, because they're doing it part-time. Yeah, they've got a day job as well, so they take it home and on weekends and do it. So, yeah, don't need them to come in. They can do it from anywhere.
That's great. So they don't need any special setup.
Look, the setup they need is the biggest thing is the know-how, and then second to that, it's the software. You need to cater for all the software firmware for the different phones, different models.
I got you.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Is that something that you would pre-populate for them in like you would give them a laptop with all that information on it, a folder? How do you organize?
Yeah, sure. So the guy I've got, the one person I've got doing it now had all the software and had the setup at home already. But I think on a previous call I mentioned that I'm setting up my brother-in-law to do the same. So I'm actually working with the guy I've got doing it at the moment and putting together a process flow and some documentation for it. I've already saved all the firmware onto an external hard drive. And I'm getting a couple of machines from my brother-in-law who'll be working on it as well. So I'll then be able to hand that over to him with the manual and get him to work through that as well.
Awesome. Let's go. Bill, can you chat for a few minutes? Is there something specific you're working on? What's going on?
Right now I'm working on manually repricing. And that seems to be have an impact. I think I mentioned last week I did all my pants, all my sport coats and jacket, suits and sport coats. I'm working on my shoes now, and it's uncanny how I go through this exercise, and either the same night or the next morning, one or two sales will pop through.
That's amazing. So, are you thinking about adding this into your routine, or how do you? Because
yeah.
When do you want to do it? Every day?
I think I should do it every day until I get through it because I have over 2,500 listings.
Okay.
So
and
if I can do 20 or 30 a day.
Evening, morning?
I think nighttime is better for me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's a great habit. So I'm trying to figure out exactly. It's easier said than done. Like adjust your listings every day. Okay. That's great. Everyone knows that. But like
you're doing 4%, right?
4%, but mine's not. I want to do it like religiously. It's like brushing my teeth. I'm not at that point yet because it's such a powerful. Immediately when you do it, you get results. So I'm trying to get there.
Are you still using data mine?
I am. That doesn't count.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you.
I will actually include a link in the description below if you guys want to try data mine. It's a software that Brooks, who's in this call, puts together for basically you can do a delist relist feature. So now that eBay is all good till canceled, it'll take the oldest listings and then relist them for you automatically. That's a useful tool, but that's not a replacement for actually adjusting your listings, because if you're priced too high, ending it and refreshing it doesn't matter because it's still not in the market, so it's not going to work. Let's go with is it Estrella?
It's Estrella.
Estrella, good evening.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you.
Tell us about you. Who are you? Where do you sell? And maybe you can repeat what you put in the chat.
Yeah, my name is Estrella, and I have been a reseller for 10 years. I work full-time, so I'm a full-time mom as well, and I have 4 kids. My current job, I'm a consultant, and so unfortunately I do travel quite a bit. So I've had to shift my strategy from doing, the listings on Posh, eBay, and Mercari, and doing more where I can source from wherever I'm at. And so I do ThreadUp, Lux, and Amazon FBA. So what I try to do is like buy things when I'm out traveling, and after work I bring a pair of tennis shoes and just go from the office to Goodwill or wherever, and then the hotels usually have a good setup where I can ship it from here so that I don't have to worry about it, and that way I can still make some revenue while I'm on the road. I would eventually like to shift from my current career to be more reselling so that I could be home and be more available and just continue to work as hard as I work now, but do it on my own time and be able to have control over it. Just working my tail off for other companies for so many years and not yielding the same results that I'd like to see with the level of effort that I'm putting in. Just kind of seeing, it's just not, I want to be more in control of my future. And so that's why I'm really investing pretty heavily in that. And last year we paid off a little over $200,000 in debt to help get us closer to that goal. And it was all of my reselling money. I didn't take any of it for fun or pay myself. I reinvested about 75% of it back into my business, and then 25% went towards us being able to pay off these bills.
That's amazing. So do you have help with the kids? How does that work?
Yes, I do. My husband is actually a great team member, and he helps quite a bit with the kids and make sure that when I'm busy that he's able to do it. But honestly, it's a lot about like our schedule. So when I am home, I'm up at 4:00 in the morning so that I have a good 2 hours before everybody gets up and needs me. And then I work, and then I come home, take the kids to Taekwondo and do all of that stuff. And after I put them to bed at 9, 9 to 11 is another time. And then my lunch hour, obviously, I spend working on my business as well.
That is amazing. So with your job, is a lot of it driving around so you can actually thrift, or how are you sourcing?
So I source while the kids are at Taekwondo on Saturdays. So I really only have one sourcing day. They are in Taekwondo for 4 hours. So they do that because they're on the competitive team. So while they're there practicing, then that's when I go out and I do my sourcing.
Incredible.
How big of a part is how big a part is ThreadUp Lux to your business model? I've been looking into that lately. It looks really cool. Like I sent in a test box and it looks like kind of FBA for clothing.
It is FBA for clothing. They do so there is some stuff where, or to answer your question, actually, how much of my business is that? I just started doing that about 4 months ago, so it's really only about 10 to 15% of what I'm bringing. Books have, so I do books mostly on Amazon FBA. Books have a bigger ROI for me. So it's just with the limited amount of time that I have, I invest most of my time on books. And then as I have my cart full, I'll take a quick pass through the clothes and just kind of do a texture fill, because obviously designer brands, their textiles are much nicer. So it's really quick to go through the clothing that way and then find some really great things.
I love that. That's amazing. Like, because you're scaling like your time so well with FBA and then ThreadUp, and like I've been wanting to do a little bit more ThreadUp myself. I just don't know enough about clothing, but it's like really cool that you were able to kind of go to the thrift stores and do books and ThreadUp and like be able to scale your time that way. It's really neat.
Thanks. Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your goals and where you want to go with this? Like short term, how do you transition?
Yeah, obviously I have one more big bill, and that's the big chain of student loans. And so once that one is paid off, then we are going to transition to where I can leave the corporate gig, because I'm almost to the point where I am making enough to replace my income as a data consultant. So almost there. And so once I'm able to do, or once we have that paid off, we're trying to be really strategic and not do anything silly. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, you need to have you need to have money in the bank, because you need to be able to, forecast for anything that comes at you. You never know, seasonality and whatever else might come at you. Amazon changes their rules like every hour. And so you have to be able to protect yourself from that. So we're going to pay off the bills, or pay off the last bill, and then save probably a good 6 to 7 months in our expenses. And then once that happens, then I'll be able to quit the job. And that's actually one of the reasons why I was on the Macari Seller Stories, is because with my kids, I have my bigs and my littles. My bigs, they're adults, they're in their 20s, and I've worked so hard. I missed so much. So I was there, I provided for them, and I paid for all of their activities, but I just wasn't there. And so I want to make sure that with my littles, that not only am I able to provide for them and give them the things that I didn't have, but to be able to be there and be present and not be worrying about some boss or someone saying you have to go to California or you have to go to Texas next week, and being more in control of where I'm at and kind of controlling my time and my energy.
That's an amazing story. I would love to share that as best as I can too, because there's so many, I would say 75% of my audience is stay-at-home parents, mostly female. So this is a good story that you can put something together. And you also have that burden of the heavy education cost. So that's very relatable. A lot of people have that situation.
Yep. Sally Mae, I'm about to evict that homegirl out of my house. So
No, she's been living there for a long time. So
yep.
That's great. So and then obviously the motivation to spend more time with your littles, that's got to be motivating.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely want to be more present. I want to be there for them. And one of my littles, he's special needs. And so I think that kind of accelerated everything a little bit more, and just making sure that I'm able to be where I need to be and be with him when I want to be with him.
So sorry for asking you so many questions, but next question.
That's okay.
What does it take to get to the next level for you? Do you need help? Or you need more sourcing help? Or where do you see more help going?
I think my next step is going to be to allow myself to be more comfortable, to give up some of the control and be okay with the dip as I help someone help me in the business, and just know that they're not going to be as invested as me, and be able to create kind of systems in place to help them with that and help me.
Yeah, that is like an unforeseen, an unspoken thing. There is a dip when you have some help. To use your time to help them figure it out.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, let me know, anyone on the call, if you guys need any specific resources or questions, I can try and point you in the right direction. We have people that do every kind of reselling in this group. Cindy, can you chat? I know you're on your phone. You might be on listen only mode, but maybe we can't hear you. And what about Nacho? Cindy, there you are. You able to chat?
Hi there. Yeah, really quick. I'm kind of pretty quiet person. I like to listen more.
No worries.
But yeah, I work full time. I'm a pharmacist, so I make good money. But I also have 2 kids, and I'm a single mom. So my one child's 11, and the other is 2. So they're quite a different ages. So they're kind of hard to. One is into sports, and one's still at home all the time. So it's hard for me to juggle reselling, but I've been on eBay I've been a buyer for a long time, but I've been selling for a few years part-time. But I'm trying to, I watch everybody on Instagram, and I don't ever like post anything, but I'm always like watching and looking, and I'm addicted to Instagram, really. But I'm just quiet, so I never post anything myself. But I'm really into eBay. That's my only platform I've ever sold on. But I'm doing pretty good. I'm picking up steam. And my total, 60-day total has been climbing higher and higher. So I'm pretty proud of that. And I'm telling my coworkers, I try to get them into it. But few of them are picking up, and, they're listening to me, and I tell them what I sold this for and what I bought it for. And so they're getting interested. And so it's picking up steam, and I'm trying to encourage everyone that I work with to do it too. So I think it's getting there. I'm a work in progress, but I have so many other things, managing the house and managing my kids and full-time working. So it's quite the juggling act, but eBay is my go-to. So I'm pretty excited with that. But long way to go, but I'm watching and I'm learning, and thank you for everything you post. And I really appreciate, other people, we really appreciate it, and you don't even know, since I don't ever post anything, but we're all watching and listening, so we're appreciative.
I appreciate that. Do you want to share maybe your objective for reselling with us?
My mortgage is paid, my car is paid, everything, my student loans, everything's paid. But my sister So I'm actually helping her pay for her mortgage right now. So I took a home equity line of credit out of my house to pay for her mortgage. So her mortgage is paid, but I'm just paying back my HELOC.
Okay.
So I only have about $7,000 left on that, and then that's my goal is hopefully just pay the rest of that with eBay.
That's amazing. That's a great job.
Estrella, can I go next, please? I've got a fairly large mortgage coming up.
Go ahead. Oh yeah, yes, Cindy. The rest of us need you to pay off our mortgage as soon as you're done with those two. That's amazing. That is incredible. Estrella, people are asking if you have social media, and if you do.
I do have social media. I'm not really active. I try to limit my time because it can be addicting, but I am at Starry Shop 303. And I'll put it in the group chat.
Sounds great. Yeah, this is a cool network to bounce ideas off of. I think all of us have similar goals of trying to get some type of financial independence through this. So I do think the next wave is communities of small business owners banding together to create something. I don't know how that will work, but I know that is the future. Let's go with Stephanie. Stephanie, can you chat for a few minutes?
Yeah, I can chat for a few minutes.
Good evening. What are you working on?
I'm just trying to sort through some other inventory I've been working on my jewelry. So I'm down in the basement listening and just trying to sort through a few things that I can get listed to get my my volume up, my dollar amount up in my store.
Awesome. Eddie, can you chat? I know you might not be in the right place in your house.
Yeah, I could chat. I've been listening.
What's going on? So I wanted you to maybe go over your process. I know you have a large lot of shoes, and maybe insight on how you're tackling that lot.
So what I first was doing was I was washing like 20 pairs of shoes at a time, then taking the pictures, then putting it on Excel, and then listing. But I was seeing that if I wasn't washing them, then I wouldn't do anything. So what I'm doing now is I'm washing every used shoe I have. I did about 120 this weekend. I'm working from home tomorrow. I'm going to do another 100 hopefully tomorrow. And then I'll have all of my shoes washed, and I only have to take pictures and list. So I'm doing more like marathon, like instead of just sprints. Like I'm more doing like trying to do all the washing and all the pictures and all the listing. So that's currently my process. And it's with the washing, it's currently working. So I like it so far.
Go ahead.
Nope. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, Eddie has this cool setup where he knows someone that has a way of getting shoes from running stores. So it's interesting because you could potentially
I figured out what she's doing.
Go ahead.
She put boxes in a bunch of running stores and just said she's going to donate 10% of whatever they donate in those boxes. So she's just keeping them, and then I don't know if she's donating 10%, but that's what she's doing, putting like donation boxes in running stores. I was like, damn, that's a good idea.
That is very interesting. A lot of people have asked me how those donation boxes work that are everywhere. They say they do a certain amount of charity, but how do you verify, and how do you even know what those things are? But I like the idea of setting up ways the inventory comes to you. But in the meantime, while that person's collecting stuff for you, that's really cool. If you can have multiple people bringing you inventory, that's tremendously useful. Yeah,
I agree. She called me, I think 2 days ago. It was just like, I have more when you're ready. I was like, well, I'm still not done with the 700 that I bought. When I'm ready, I will call you.
Amazing. Cool. Yeah, VFO is also saying it's Levitt, right? Yeah, Levitt. So Levitt's saying batching works well as well. Levitt, are you purchasing any lots?
I have a relationship with an estate sale manager in the area, and she kind of sells me all her books for like a set price. I just got through that lot probably like a couple weeks ago, but nothing in the works.
Sounds good. Nacho, I don't know if you can chat for a minute. Maybe not. Maybe listen only mode. I don't know. Does anybody? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, hey, I've been reselling on eBay since 2001. I stopped because of school. Recently went back into it like more than I ever have. Just last year towards fourth quarter, and I don't know how I stumbled back into it, but somehow I fell back into eBay, and I started falling back in love with it. I just love the freedom of being able to work when you want and hustle and expand. And I'm just getting tired of the 9 to 5 or I work 2 part-time jobs currently, AM and graveyard, and it's just
wow.
Yeah, it's just horrible. But I'm trying to fit in reselling on the side. Like I'm supposed to be sleeping right now, but I love this Zoom thing. I've never had this before. So
Do you want to share your objective for reselling with us?
Just the freedom, the freedom of working for someone else and being able to work hard for yourself. And the more you work hard, you can actually hopefully increase your financial freedom and being able to work when you want. I work in the medical industry, so I have to work during holidays and weekends, and that sucks not being able to spend time with family. So yeah, I'm learning the whole process all over again. I mean, I still remember how it used to be, but my biggest thing right now is trying to find space, because my whole room, I've actually constructed custom-made shelves just to fill up my room. So I literally live with all my inventory because I have no other space to put all my inventory.
No, that's how it all starts.
Yeah, it was to the point where I had tubs next to me in my bed.
I had a point where I had about 100 VCRs stacked up in my room.
It's it's bad when the inventory starts falling on you in the middle of the night.
Oh man.
I love that. Now I've seen some pictures where people can touch inventory while in bed on both sides, like it's just everywhere, and that's all they have. And especially on the East Coast, where people have much smaller living quarters, the most common is probably a 400 square foot apartment with 500 pairs of shoes in it. That's pretty much every nook and cranny is inventory. Looking at how people do this.
I don't know. I would sell only like watches or something, or gold bars if I lived in the areas.
It probably, watches is probably a fantastic category. That's something that a lot of people are learning, because especially, it's nice to have something that is analog, so it's just easy to check. But yeah, you brought up the Think and Rich, Grow Rich Mastermind principle. I 100% agree with that. That's the purpose of this call. If you guys I do this call Monday through Friday in my Patreon, but the Monday night call is always going to be free and public. So if you guys want to join, Monday night is when we do it at 6 p.m. Actually, I'm going to change it to 5 p.m. Pacific, an hour earlier. But yeah, I'm going to make this one open to the public, because it's always nice to get new ideas and meet new people. Thank you guys for stopping by. And again, I'm trying to figure out potentially how to let other people use this service that I have to create other mini groups, because there's been talks of like a 24-hour chat or something where people can always get in, because this concept of a mastermind, we can do a lot more when other people are sharing how they're doing it. So these are really, really useful, and probably my most popular calls. Does anybody have something that they want to do a deep dive on?
Not a deep dive, Chris, but I've got a question.
Sure.
If you don't mind, for you or for the group. And I'm just starting to look into this now, but obviously we sell goods on eBay. Does eBay have a facility to sell services as opposed to just goods? Is there any functionality or any capacity or any ability to do that?
Thumbtack in my area is a site that people use to sell things directly. Like, for example, you can hire a plumber, a painter, to do any kind of DJing services. They're all on there, and they can get rated just like eBay. What type of services specifically were you thinking?
Yeah, so I'm thinking aligned to what I'm doing at the moment. So from both, number one for me would be the unlocking service, obviously. And for my day job, I work for an electronics repairer, and I'm actually thinking for, there's fixed costs for things like a repair of an iPhone screen, for instance, which you could include cost of it as well. So I'm just wondering if, similar to a good, you could actually post on eBay that, screen repair for an iPhone 6, $120 including freight, and people can purchase that way.
Does anybody have some insight into selling services online? That seems extremely useful. John, I actually fixed 3 MacBooks with that service on eBay.
Oh, okay.
So it was $375 to fix a MacBook Pro, free shipping both ways.
So you bought the service, you purchased the service on eBay. Yeah, okay. Do you remember the name of the
physical good was the box was shipped to me. You put it in, packed a certain way, and sealed a certain way, and then shipped there, and they shipped it back for $375. They fixed my MacBook perfectly. So I mean that seems like it's possible. They traditionally eBay doesn't like straight services, but you can work it out and mix it with something.
Okay, cool. I'll check it out. Thank you.
Let's see. We lost a couple people. Think here. Well, we might have to call it an early evening. But yeah, I'm definitely down to create this chat. If you guys have any other questions, let me know. But I'm going to let everybody go a little bit early tonight. So thank you all for stopping by. And I'll see you guys next week if you want to come. 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, an hour earlier. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Chris. See you all.